what goes on later. So we're now into session 2, which is about the value of marine artificial structures, ValMAS, and the influence of man-made structures in the ecosystem, so we're going to hear 2 different talks. We're going to hear one from Nikki Beaumont, and she's online. I believe she's on now. And 2, she is speaking from Plymouth. She's been awarded the ValMAS project funding from NERC and Insight. And although she can't be here, 2 of her team, Stephen and Rebecca, are both in the room, and they'll join the panel afterwards. We're also going to hear from Henk, and then we're going to have a panel chat. So if we're able to get... Yeah, hi, Nikki.
Hello, Christine.
Thank you very much for joining us. Apparently everything's going really well, so you've got about 12-ish minutes now to tell us, and I'll give you a warning if we're getting close to the time that we want you to wrap up. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. I'm going to quickly move on to my slides so you don't just see my great big face. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for that introduction, Christine. I'm Nikki Beaumont. I'm based at the Plymouth Marine Laboratory, and I want to spend some time this morning just introducing you to this new project, the ValMAS project, which is investigating the value of marine artificial structures. Now, as Christine said, I'm really sorry that I can't be with you today, but Steve Watson, who's deputy leader of the project, is, as are a number of the team members who I'll introduce a little bit later on. So this is a really exciting project. It's a big one. It's 5.6 million over 4 years. And the aim that UCRI had was to enhance understanding of the ecological, economic and social value of marine artificial structures, natural capital, in order to inform decision-making and policy solutions for management for all life stages. So that's our overarching aim. We're a big team. We've got 6 academic partners, plus the National Decommissioning Centre, Natural England, and then we've got 3 consultancies. We've got the 3 of the main UK fishing organisations and Marine Energy Wales as well. And as you'll see as I continue, the consortium's actually much bigger than this. These are just the actual funded partners. So our vision, where do we want to be at the end of these 4 years? Where we want to be working towards is a just, nature positive and economically efficient energy transition, which enhances biodiversity and safeguards ecosystem services. Now, I'm not sure in the room about the knowledge of the words natural capital and ecosystem service, so I'll just take a moment to explain what I mean by this. So an ecosystem service, very basically, is a benefit that we receive from the environment. So in the case of the marine environment, this is the fish that we have to eat. It's the fact it takes up our CO2. It takes up our wastes. It provides us with a place where we can recreate and play. So the marine environment enhances our well-being through a whole host of different mechanisms and ecosystem services. And natural capital refers to the stock that provides these ecosystem services. And so just a little introduction. I imagine most of you are quite familiar with these terms. The mission that we have is to work very closely with non-academics in order to empower decision makers with the evidence-based tools that they need and that are useful to them to sustainably manage, operate and decommission the marine artificial structures, and allowing them to balance these multiple interconnected environmental, economic and societal priorities. Our focus is on the North Sea, but we want to make sure that whatever we do is transferable to other areas wherever possible. In terms of the ecosystem services, we're going to focus on carbon and fisheries and biodiversity. But again, I think it's quite likely that we'll stray a little bit further as the project goes on. And we're looking at all marine artificial structures. So this includes decommissioning, but also compensatory measures, offshore wind.
Sorry, Nikki.
Yeah?
We're not seeing your slides.
Oh. Oh, you're just looking at my face this whole time. Hang on, let me try again. But thank you for shouting up.
Yeah, we were just trying to work out a way to get that to you, but...
Wait. Hang on. Right, can you see that now? Yes. I'm so sorry. I was in such haste to move onto the slides and off my big face that I missed the button. Apologies, okay. Everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, I won't just repeat everything that I said already. I'll move quite quickly through. So this was just me introducing myself and Steve, and the aim, and also now you can actually see the logos of all the team here along the bottom. And then our vision that I read out that is written here, and then our mission again, which I think I spoke quite clearly, so hopefully you all caught that, and then also our focus. So that's where I was up to. My apologies for missing that, and thank you for informing me. So then our work package structure, the context for our project looks like this. So we've got 6 work packages. The first one is very interdisciplinary. So it looks at synthesizing and integrating what's currently going on in this landscape. The second work package is again incredibly interdisciplinary and is about developing a framework for natural capital and floristic values. This natural capital framework really holds everything else that we're going to do in the project. Then we've got the 3 blades, which are more disciplinary in their nature. So this is like the core research, if you like, where work package 3 is looking at modelling. Work package 4 is our natural science, which is looking at filling evidence gaps. Work package 5 is around assessing shared and social values. And then finally, our work package 6, which is our decision support tools. And I'll go into those work packages in a little bit more detail. So then the wider consortium that I mentioned earlier, we have got really strong partnerships with industry, government, NGOs and academia. And actually these logos here, since the project's been funded, this is already growing. So we're getting a wider and wider consortium by the day. We also link up with a lot of other initiatives. One of the reasons I was really excited about this ValMAS call was I've worked in this area of offshore structures for over 20 years. And 2 things drive me crazy. One is the fact that I see a lot of repetition in work that's done. So I see a piece of work done over here by Consortium A and another piece really repeating it over here by Consortium B. And this lack of connectivity and understanding. And what we're hoping to do in ValMAS is really overcome that. And I'll talk about how we're going to overcome that and stop that repetition from taking place going forward. So we do have these really strong links to all these other initiatives going on. We also link into a lot of the natural capital and ecosystem service initiatives, and we're on lots and lots of different committees and boards. We have strong links as well with Crown Estate Scotland, Crown Estate and DEFRA. So then just to go into the work packages a little bit, the first work package is really about understanding what's happened before. Obviously, if you want to do something differently and go somewhere new, it really helps if you understand what's currently there. And so our first job will be to map the landscape. So map what's happening in terms of research and evidence, map the stakeholders involved, and map the governance. This is no easy feat, and we are very well aware that a lot of this mapping work has been done before. In some of the presentations we saw this morning, I saw some really nice overviews. So we'll be really building on what's happened and the work that's already been done in this area. The second item of this work package will be around engagement in coordination. I put this really high up because I think it's really critical that we organise the workshops and get those dates out and explain what we're doing well in advance so people can plan them in their diaries, and also that we can map them onto other events that are happening. So, for example, like the event today. Then the third thing in this work package that's going to be really challenging, I think, is we want to devise a series of management scenarios that will then run through the whole project. So these, I've already spoken a lot with stakeholders about what these management scenarios might include. They may include compensatory measures, like we heard in the talks this morning around decommissioning. There's a whole suite of going from leaving things exactly as they are to taking them completely out. Plus a range of other nature-inclusive design and other offshore wind measures that we could look at. So we want to spend a decent chunk of time working with our stakeholders about what management scenarios are sensible to do and what's useful to them. And then finally, I'm really excited about this part. This is our mass community of practice. Like I said, one of the things that's driven me crazy over the years has been seeing this repetition of work. What we want to do here is bring together a community practice, so bring together everybody who's working in this environment in a way that makes sense for them, so we can share information and really start to build trust between partners. I heard that a lot in the presentations this morning, that a big blocker to our making progress is around trust and understanding, and the community of practice will hopefully help us to overcome this. Emma McKinley is leading this, and she previously has set up a social science network, which has been enormously successful, so we hope to build on our own networks, but also Emma's previous experience. In terms of legacy from this, we're working to make sure that what we do hopefully can provide a blueprint for other areas where there's been challenges in terms of getting people together. And also we want to make sure that whatever's set up in these 4 years continues to run after the 4 years ends. I've seen enough in my time of projects setting up and ending after 4 years and it all disappears. So a big part of what we'll be doing here is making sure this has legacy. The second work package, like I said, is around this natural capital framework that really holds everything else that we'll be doing. So in the first 18 months, we'll be looking at framing what a natural capital framework is and talking to our stakeholders about what that might look like, and then scoping what will be included within that. Between years 2 and 3, we'll be filling it with information from the work packages 3, 4, and 5. And then finally, in the final year, this natural capital framework, will be using it to help us design our decision support tools in work package 6. So this is really to make sure that this really big project is held together under one framework. So then those 3 blades that were on that initial diagram, where we go a little bit more disciplinary in our approaches. The first thing here is our multi-scale impact modelling. And this is a really innovative approach to modelling. We have got 6 different modelling approaches here, and although they've all been used to model offshore wind, and a lot of them have been modelled in the North Sea before now, they've never been brought together in a project in this way. So we're hoping to add really significant value using these models. Those scenarios that I mentioned in work package 1 will be used as a unified set, so all the models will be driven by the same scenarios, and they work across different scales. So the 4 in the middle, you can see a quite fine scale in terms of their temporal and spatial scale. The ones on either side are a slightly coarser scale. If I just talk you very quickly through this set, we've got FECOM and ERSEM, which FECOM drives our physical parameters, and ERSEM is looking at how the epifaunal structures will change under the different scenarios. This allows us to make predictions. This one here is taken from the DREAMS project, and they allow us to make predictions, for example, about how primary productivity will change into the future. Particularly exciting in terms of FECOM, in terms of new development, is that we'll be able to look at the physical impact of structures on the mixing. We haven't been able to do that before, so that's a big step forward. And then we also have the PILAG model, which builds again on the work that's been done in DREAMS and looks at the connectivity across the whole area of the North Sea, and the MISA model, which will be looking at size spectrum and distribution of fish. Then from these models, these provide some of the fundamental drivers for the Strath-E2E and EcoPath to EcoSim models, which you can see on the far right and the far left of this diagram. So just to go into those in a little bit more detail. The EcoPath with EcoSim, I suspect many of you have seen presentations on these ones before, and they are looking at using a mass balanced food web model. The EcoSim brings in a temporal aspect, and EcoSpace then brings in a spatial aspect. And as you can see down on the left-hand side, the EcoSpace model has been used in the Moray Firth, and this will now be used over in the North Sea. And really excitingly, in terms of contaminant tracing, we've got the EcoTracer model, which will help us to understand how contaminants move around from these structures and in the North Sea. These models will use data, the field data from work package 4 that I'll speak of in a moment, and they'll input to the work package 5 work on shared values. We then also have, finally, the 6th model that we have is the Strath-E2E model, which is a marine food web model, which goes right up to fish and top predators. So these blue boxes that you can see in the middle show you how we go from zooplankton right up to those higher trophic levels, and we'll be able to understand how all of those different levels are impacted by those different scenarios. Then on to work package 4. So this is our natural science work. Now, this is a really interesting work package, I think, because we haven't said yet exactly what we're going to be doing here. We understand that the offshore structures provide a habitat for invertebrate organisms, but we're also very well aware that the environmental implications are much broader than just providing a habitat. The changes are much wider than this. And the figure that I'm showing you here is actually just currently in press, so please don't share it yet. But Steve Watson, who's with you today, he's led this work. And what we see here is just the extent of changes that we can see in our marine environment resulting from offshore wind farms in this case, and obviously from decommissioning as well. And it shows how you have got this wide variety of potential impacts on the environment, and also how much those impacts change at different points in construction, operation, and decommissioning. So what we want to do is, using work package 1, when we're looking at what's currently happening in the landscape, is we want to find where's the best place to put our effort, where are the data gaps. I think it's not clear at the moment where the most important places are to be doing this novel research. So that said, we do have some ideas, and those ideas of where we think we might like to be going are around AI pattern recognition technology for understanding biodiversity and carbon changes under the different scenarios that I've mentioned. Looking at doing some biodiversity and seabed carbon field work. This builds on a lot of our experience in this area already. Looking into contaminant fluxes and acoustic monitoring using DGTs, and also potentially using marine sentinels and ecosystem indicators. And then using simulated data mining from the National Decommissioning Centre and the D4NZ project. So this is a selection of field data and novel analysis that we're looking at potentially doing. But like I said, what we want to do is that work in the first 6 to 9 months where we really drive into where are the key data gaps, and then we will fine-tune our natural science accordingly. This work package is really key, I think, for feeding into other areas. As I've said already, it will be really driven by what we find in work package 1. It will be two-way connecting with the models. So the models will be saying what we really need, guys, is this kind of data to drive the models. And then the data from this work package 4 will be used to validate the models, and will be used to parameterize the models, sorry. And then in terms of work package 6, which is our decision support tools, again, they'll be saying, look, natural scientists, this is the data we really need in our decision support tools. And then once the data is collected, it will feed into those tools. And in work package 5, it will be providing data to drive those shared and social values analysis. So then moving on to that work package 5, this fits really nicely with everything that we heard this morning and those fantastic talks. And what we want to move here, it fits really well actually with what was said, is we want to move between just this notion of getting to an efficient trade-off to really dig into what those individual values are and look at what's actually socially optimal rather than just economically optimal. We really want to bring in perspectives of fairness and justice because, as we saw very much this morning with that great talk, I think Richard was saying about the Brent Spa, is if we don't bring these aspects in and ensure we have social legitimacy, then we get this conflict and we get backlashes. So we want to work against this. And in our definition here, we believe justice to include distributive, procedural, and recognition epistemic justice dimensions as well. So a really broad definition of justice here. In terms of what we'll be doing, we start out with trying to understand, I love this question. The work is led by Jasper Kenter, and his question is, well, what is the North Sea for anyway? Like, who is it for and how do they want to use it? And in this first work package, he'll be working with a wide range of people to understand what they believe the current management issues are within the North Sea, then to understand how they'd like the North Sea to look, and then look to how we can bridge between those two things and come up with suitable measures to bring across. The second part of this work package is some economic valuation to look at monetary changes. So for those 3 ecosystem services that I mentioned, for carbon, fish and biodiversity, we'll be valuing the changes of these under those scenarios in monetary terms. making sure that we do have, this will hopefully help us to work towards economically efficient compensation, and which will enable citizen deliberation, and we'll be feeding into the government Green Book and NCA. And then the final part of this work package is around sociocultural and shared values, and we'll be doing a range of questionnaires and ethnographic interviews. We'll be working with the general public as well as with broader stakeholders, which I've already mentioned, to understand some of their views. We'll wrap this up with a national citizen panel, which brings a lot of people together in one room. And I've been involved in these, and they're fascinating things to engage in. Then the last work package is work package 6, which is our decision support tools, where we'll begin by spending time with our stakeholders right from day one, talking to them about what have they got already, what works, what doesn't work, what they hate, what they love, and then working through the project, the whole project with them to develop the decision support tools. We have some tools already, so we have got the ORIS tool, the Strathi2E tool, and the MSpace tool. So we'll be looking to improve these, but also potentially develop new tools to make sure that we achieve that mission of really empowering decision makers with the information that they need. Then other aspects of this work package, we'll look to explore a digital twin. Really critical is 6.4, which is around this federated data architecture. So making sure that everything we collect, all the data we collect, is fair, it's accessible, it's usable, so people can really get to it and understand what we have. And then finally, user testing and evaluation to make sure these things are useful. I haven't mentioned much about governance, and we don't have a specific governance work package, but I just want to take a moment to reassure you that actually the reason we don't have a specific work package is because it's embedded throughout everything. So in work package 1, we'll be mapping the governance. In work package 2, we'll be understanding how these governance systems fit with the natural capital framework. In work package 5, those shared and social values, that work around a just energy transition is actually rooted in the governance landscape. And in work package 6, the decision support tools, obviously incredibly important to have these designed within the context of the governance landscape. Just very quickly, I've described the different work packages, but I think what's helpful is to understand how these come together to address a specific issue. So one of the things we want to look at is how different management scenarios affect biodiversity. So how this would work, for example, is we'll have our scenarios analysis in work package 1. Then we'll have a range of field data and data analysis in work package 1 and work package 4 to understand how biodiversity changes under those different scenarios. The models will give us insight also to how that biodiversity changes under the different scenarios. And this all then feeds into work package 5, where we'll understand both the economic value of those biodiversity changes, but also the sociocultural and shared values of that biodiversity. So this is just to show you how the work packages fit together. And this map we've done for fisheries, and we've also done for carbon. I don't have time to go into those in depth with you today, but I just wanted to show you that, how the work packages fit together. So how will ValMAS make a difference? We really hope that we'll be producing useful and accessible outputs. We want everybody in this room, very likely, to be involved in this and developing it and producing it. The community of practice should make a real shift in how we're working together and improving trust. We'll have a host of interactive workshops and meetings, bringing people together and making some advances scientifically. We want to establish these trust-based relationships using the community of practice in the workshops. We want to really shift the dynamics between these different sectors. We'll have the decision support tools. All the work packages have their own outputs and really novel science happening in those as well. The federated data architecture I'm ridiculously excited about, because that means everything we do will be accessible. And we'll be watching all the time. So we have what's called a theory of change that helps us map from our science to impact, and we'll be monitoring this as well. So just my final slide, a big thank you for listening today. I really hope that, like I say, everyone in this room will be getting involved in this project. A reminder of both our vision and our mission. And actually, I think, Christine, we've got 4 of the team there today. So I've put their faces up on this slide. So if you want to ask some questions, you can seek them out at coffee. And that's all. Thank you very much. And apologies again for the little blip at the beginning.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, well, that was a fantastic speed through. Thank you very much, Nikki, and sorry about the little glitch at the beginning.